Sounds fine with me.
Okay. Welcome, everybody. It is October 6th, 1 p.m. I'm here with Della, Piana, Alex Spielman, and David. Do you go by Dave or David?
Dave
Denton. And we're discussing the Kavanaugh confirmation. Alex, you just said that you got the update. What's going on with that? Did they confirm them already?
As of the roll call vote, they have confirmed Kavanaugh after a vote of 50 to 48.
Right.
Okay.
As predicted.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's what both sides wanted all along.
Yep.
I think they wanted to. I don't think it matters, who's in a position, because nobody's going to hold each other accountable. Whether you're left or you're right, they're not holding the opposing parties accountable. I think they just wanted to get people upset and riled up for the midterms. What do you think, Deb?
Yeah, I think almost everything they do is for show. I'm at the point where I truly believe the American people are being played 24/7, and we better pretty fast wake up to that. Everybody says, well, we could have had Merrick Garland. Well, Merrick Garland was an asshole too. And so I never supported him. I thought that whole Merrick Garland as liberal was a crock of bull from day one. I don't believe a thing that ever happened under Obama was ever real. I'm at that point.
Right.
But I'm also at that point presently. We are being played in a big way. The bottom line in my feeling on this clown is his reaction in the Senate proved he's just an entitled little frat boy. Whether or not he, what's her name's? I don't even know her name because I don't trust either side, as I've told you this before.
It was Dr. Christine Blasey Ford.
Yeah, whatever. Christine Blasey, blah, blah. I don't trust any of these people. Because I think we're being played. But the bottom line here is whether or not you believe her story, he is, everything that's despicable about frat boy rape culture. And I don't give a shit what you say. He doesn't give a damn about women.
No.
He makes the open statement that, the precedent has been set with, Roe v. Wade, but we can discuss limitations on abortion. You know what? Well, go away, because guess what? That's nobody's business. And the government, as soon as they start legislating morality, you make me laugh, because they are the most immoral, decrepit, bone-sucking pigs on the planet. And no one's legislating my body that comes out of that shithole cesspool. This should be a moot point at this point. They don't give a damn about children when they're outside the womb. They only give a damn about them when they're inside the womb, because it's a way to get people's hot buttons going.
And I noticed, I'm sorry, go ahead.
I'm done.
And I noticed, did you see that there was a video of our pro-abortion protesters were side by side with anti-abortion protesters, and they could not have a civil discussion. This guy roundhouse kicked a woman in her face and knocked her phone off.
Right.
Simply because they disagreed. So
right.
Clearly, life and, protecting other people is not important to you if you're willing to roundhouse kick your opponent, And
this is exactly the plan. Get them fighting each other, get us fighting each other instead of fighting them. And the bottom line is, neither one of these parties gives a damn about anybody. They're not here to save anybody. They're here to protect their private, personal interests. They're on the fucking gravy train. And they're owned and operated by the same characters. It's, we have to get beyond this. It's either us or it's them. That's as black and white as it gets for me at this point.
I'm going to have to disagree with you on basically everything there, but I'm going to wait till my turn.
No, you go ahead. We can do a minute or two at a time and interject with each other.
I'll let you know when you're wrong.
Yeah, she'll tell you. Well, go ahead, Alex.
Okay. Well, then, you know what? You're wrong right now. Just by saying that. You're in the wrong.
What?
Anyways.
I didn't say that. That was a joke.
This is actually very important because of just how many things went wrong in the confirmation hearing itself. Now, I'm saying this because I actually watched every single hearing, and I went down just by just pure jurisprudence on this.
Jurisprudence.
First of all, when it came to the confirmation hearing itself, the biggest issue we had was that the people, when they were asking the questions, it had nothing to do with the judicial record of the confirmee. It had to do with his.
I totally agree with you on that point. I totally agree. Yeah, no.
Because where we talk, we're talking about how, his early life. We're talking about, when he was a high school or when he was in college. What does that have to do with the fact that he had over 30 years of service?
Right.
Why don't we talk about his time in the? Yeah, exactly. Why did we never talk about him in the Regular Judge? Why don't we never talk about how he was chief secretary for the Bush administration? Why did we never talk about him in his Court of Appeals?
Hey, we should talk about all of that.
Which I think that's a big.
Why wouldn't we? Why? The whole point of the confirmation hearing is to go over and review the nominee's record of how well he has done or she has done in judicial service, and then address it and assess it during that period of time.
Right.
They did none of that.
I agree. And let me just say this. I totally agree with that. There are plenty of reasons not to confirm this jerk, in my opinion, without going into that. But I do want to say something about that whole situation. You know what? I don't care whether or not you believe this woman. If you do not acknowledge that there is a rape culture in this country and that the cards are stacked, all of a sudden now, all of these years later, this is what I hear from even women, and it alarms me, and I'll tell you why it alarms me. As soon as the protesters were tied to George Soros, women began to turn on women. And you know what? I have to tell you something. There's a pathology that runs across the board from the right to the left in this country. And to deny that women have been used by men for decades is bullshit. And I'm saying to you that his response for me to all of this stuff was enough to turn me right off. But beyond that, before that, it was all of his record. He really doesn't have any respect for women. Beyond the whole rape thing, he has no respect for women whatsoever, in my opinion. And, so for me, he just doesn't work. Somebody who works for me is someone like Ruth Bader Ginsburg. However, I have problems with the fact that she's a Zionist, but that's just me. So my problem with all of this is the system. And it's a system that allows this kind of conversation to cover up his record. And I maintain that cover up was executed by both sides, because there is a master plan afoot by all of the politicians in this nation, and it's us versus them, not Democrat versus Republican, not liberal versus conservative. It's all labels and all bullshit, and we are either going to stand up and fight, or we're going to sink and swim. I'm not waiting around here for anyone to save us. This is bullshit. It's bullshit.
No, I have to say, I hope that eventually this whole Kavanaugh thing becomes a teaching moment, because during the confirmation vote, I get a news feed that there are undisclosed emails that Kavanaugh had during his Bush years. And I'm with Alex. This should not have been, if you want to do an investigation on Kavanaugh, all of that should not have been involved with confirmation. It should have been a separate investigation, and he should not have been confirmed yet, because now all of a sudden we have all of these emails that cannot be looked at until after the fact. So
and that is everything that's wrong with the system. Everything.
Yeah. And I'm not saying confirm him, don't confirm him, but when a retired Supreme Court justice states that he has issues with Kavanaugh, being confirmed because of his partisanship, because of the fact that Kavanaugh was a lawyer for Bush during Bush's election and would have helped him if the whole election went to the Supreme Court, the results went to the Supreme Court. The fact that Kavanaugh was involved in the whole Ken Starr investigation, and the fact that that Kavanaugh stated that, you know, basically karma will come back to get the Democrats. You know, none of that was really brought to bear, and his
How is that
judicial
any
record.
different, though? You know, both parties do that.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
We're not denying
Absolutely.
that.
I'm not
We're
denying
saying
that.
it has to stop somewhere.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Now-
if it doesn't stop, then it just keeps going. You know, again,
Yeah.
Oh, and to Susan Collins,
she's a piece of shit.
I will remember you. I will remember you when you mentioned due process when it comes to sexual allegations. If Julian Assange ever gets extradited to the United States,
Exactly.
I will remember your name, because you are a hypocrite if you do not support Julian Assange and his be against his treatment, because you supported Kavanaugh because of just cause, cause and due process in his case. However cockamamie it may be, I mean, there were a lot of things with Susan Blasey Ford that didn't make any sense to me. I agree with, but it shouldn't have been about that. It really shouldn't have been about that.
No, but you know what? But it becomes that, and Susan Collins played that card.
Absolutely.
She played that card, and she made sure she made a little disclaimer, about I'm not supporting rape culture. You know what? Go away. She's not. This is not the first time she's played both ends against the middle. She's a character. She did it under Obama.
Question: what is rape culture?
I suggest. Hang on one second.
What is actually the definition of rape culture? Isn't rape culture when rape is tolerated or accepted within the community?
It is when, women's positions are minimized in order to make
rape has to do with the sexual thing. It has nothing to do with their positions.
You don't think rape is about power? You think it's about sex? So let me get this right. Some guy goes out with a girl and he wants to have sex with her, but when he has to take it by force, that's about him having to satisfy his lust, but not about power. The whole shit about rape culture and bullshit in Hollywood, all of that excessive masculinity.
That's not having to do with rape culture, okay?
Rape
nothing to do with rape culture.
Rape, you know what? Rape is about power. That's what it really is. And whether you want to face it or not, there is a culture in this country that women are less important than men. And there is an excuse being made.
Okay, right? Then when was the last time you ever saw something actually there for men? Okay? We have all these assistants for women.
Wait.
We have all these different things, but then
I don't deny that men are raped. I don't deny that. You know what? How many men come forward?
How about the fact I was one of those people?
Okay, I'm not denying. Listen, hey, I'm not diminishing anything here. I'm saying it's wrong no matter who's being raped. It's about power, whether it's a woman doing it or a man doing it. And I certainly acknowledge that women have done it. I absolutely do. But no one in this world, not one male, not one female, is ever going to tell me that men have been marginalized in this nation like women.
Men have been marginalized in this environment. Yes,
maybe
that is true. That is very true. It has happened.
Okay, well, men have been marginalized in this environment, but we have a whole host of men who have acknowledged their complicity in this. And all of a sudden, guys like Louis C.K. are okay. They're stand-up guys.
Did I ever say it was okay for him? No. I said men have been marginalized as well.
Let's talk about the aspects of Kavanaugh that we don't agree with. Is that a good topic?
What, the aspects of Kavanaugh that we don't agree with?
Yeah.
Almost all of them.
No, let's pinpoint the reasons, because the major media, they only focus on this the sexual accusations. They don't hardly ever talk
Right.
about
They don't.
like how he opposes the birth control mandate.
Exactly.
You know,
Exactly.
he has an issue with
Is
separation
it really?
of state.
Is it really the burden of the government to regulate things like that?
No.
No.
You know what? I wish the government would get the hell out of people's
Yeah.
bedrooms. Get them out. I don't care whether they're sleeping with sheep. You know something? This
The
is
only
way
people that have the authority to say what I can do with my body is me, my husband, and my doctor. And
That's
that's it.
exactly
How about this? Do children who are not born have natural rights like any other individual?
Repeat that.
Do children who are not, do fetuses have natural rights like any other individual?
It depends on how you define that.
What do I mean? What do you mean?
I need you to understand something. I believe that there are things on this planet that are not pleasant, but there are things that the government should never be involved in. And what a woman does with her body is one of those things. It's, you know what? Here's the bottom line. You know what? They don't want birth control and they don't want abortion. Well, you gotta want one of them, because guess what? The notion that we can practice the rhythm method or the notion that women should abstain from sex unless they want to procreate is absurd on its face. And you can teach all the abstinence you want to high schoolers. That's not going to happen. So I am very sorry. You can't line women up with, you can't do this, you can't do that, you can't do this. Oh, by the way, if you get pregnant, tough shit. We're going to tell you that it's
because of their religious beliefs is the reason why he's pushing this, is to adhere to his base that is pushing this. Yeah.
So
right, let me just tell you what my feeling is. If you don't believe in abortion, don't have one. You know something? You can't tell people what to do. It's not right based on religious beliefs. Religion does not belong in government. I'm sorry. We don't.
My stance is actually not on religious basis. It has to do with societal basis. Well, and what is being done.
I don't believe anybody should be involved in other people's business, period.
Do you believe that the selling of organ parts is a good thing?
I do not believe that every woman who has an abortion is complicit in selling organ parts. If that's going on a systemic level, it needs to. It
is actually going on a systemic.
Then you go to the cause of that problem, but you do not hold women accountable for that. Sorry.
I am not holding them women accountable for that.
You know what? I'm sorry, but I get off the bus there. I'm off the bus.
Okay, let's talk about. Let's see. What are some other? We're
supposed to know, as women, we're supposed to know they're selling our babies organ parts when we have absolutely. I need to see some proof. I need to see proof that a woman is.
Look up anything that has to do with Planned Parenthood.
Yeah, Planned Parenthood is now the issue here. Planned Parenthood works, hand in hand with the Democratic Party. They push their voter registration. I'm pretty positive that they have.
I'm not denying that. Show me the body part link. Show it to me.
What?
I have documents that prove it.
Okay, show it to me. Show them to me. And I want to know what you think. You think that women going into these places to have an abortion, do you really honestly think that they're being...
Am I against abortions as a concept? No.
So then
I believe that it cannot be used as a form of birth control. If there's any other way to do so, then no.
Well, you know what? Guess what? I have a niece who doesn't want babies. She's very happily married and turned on by her husband. They don't want children. I have a lot of friends who don't want children. I think they should have a right to make that decision. And I'm sorry.
They do have that right.
That's not anybody's business.
They have the right to do that, don't they?
Do they? Well, let's keep it that way, because birth control is an integral part of that. None of them have had abortions because they've been on birth control. How's that?
That's their volition.
That's their right. They're Catholics.
I'm not.
I love you guys.
I'm just saying.
I'm not saying that a person should not have the ability to choose if they do not or want to. I'm saying we should not use it as a catch-all thing.
Okay.
About children when they go into Yemen and blow people apart. It's just a question. Here.
Okay, what does Yemen have to do with abortion?
It's got a lot to do with everything. You know what? It doesn't
Of course
matter when
not.
you're killing children. Doesn't matter when you're killing
We
children.
can even talk about how that's completely off topic.
Merrick Allen. We're not talking about Merrick Allen. We're not talking about what's his name either. So let's get off this subject because it's too hot for me.
Here's I'm gonna try to reel it back in. Here's
that, Dave.
Kavanaugh.
Here's my point. Here's my point on the.
Yemen and birth control. Now let's get back to.
Go ahead. Let's go.
But all that's beside the point because Merrick Garland said that precedence matters, and that he won't overturn Roe versus Wade.
That wasn't Merrick Garland.
Oh, not Merrick Garland. I'm sorry, Kavanaugh. They're the same friggin' person too, which you made that point of Merrick and Kavanaugh work together.
It's why they work together.
Yeah, but anyway, Kavanaugh stated, according to Susan Collins, that
Sorry.
At least I got you laughing.
I know. I'm all right. I need to make a martini. I can get up, right?
Precedence matters, and that what he will do is he will surgically remove offending parts of certain things. I'm curious to see if he will, what will happen, especially to the Roe versus Wade decision. What parts he will surgically remove. And by the way, Alex, not for nothing, we'll have the discussion before I was assaulted too. So, I have an issue with Me Too and all of that, but we'll discuss that at a later time.
By the way, can I just say one thing here? And let me just say it very quietly.
Tell me first.
No, I mean this seriously. Just let me say it quietly. I have a 17-year-old son, okay, who, just let me say, all right, has been exposed. So, I am not unsympathetic. Trust me.
Right. But it doesn't, the problem is all of these things get mashed together and it gets into the emotional argument. And we have to say that's why the Blasey Ford stuff was thrown to the forefront, because it's a very emotionally raw topic for a lot of people.
And it pulls the heartstrings.
Yes.
And the thing is, though,
and the Democrats are great at that.
Act without the research first. They'll act on emotion. They'll act on their own experiences, and they'll put the blame on somebody before they know the facts. So that's why, I was opposing to a lot of the Democrats and stuff that were pushing the I believe, the I believe hashtag, because you should not believe a male or a female simply on feelings. You have to look at the facts, and that takes several days just for me myself to combine all this information and watch all these streams and get different perspectives and look up different rabbit holes, and I can guarantee that 99% of those people that believe Ford didn't do any research beyond CNN. So I understand why Trump supporters are anti, I believe, because they're hypocrites. They don't do their research. They half-ass everything they do. And then on top of that, people are literally paying them to protest. How is that acceptable? And
what's funny about paid protests is that there was literally a transaction between Chuck Schumer and a paid protest. It was literally, you actually had photographic evidence of him literally handing off money.
I saw that.
I don't deny that. I think they're masters of the game. But I'm going to tell you what else I don't believe. I have had people say that they should be shut down, and I'm not going to agree with that.
Yeah, I agree with you on that.
If we're offended by this, let's get up off our asses and get out there. I'm sorry. I don't care how people are getting out there. They're getting out there. And we ought to be annoyed that it takes money to get people to do that.
Yeah.
That's my opinion. Survival ought to be enough for people. And if it isn't, we are pathetic.
Here's what I say to the protesters or anybody that's triggered by the whole Kavanaugh vote. Before you get all upset about it, first off, name me all of the Supreme Court justices. I couldn't even do it. So,
let's see. You have
become informed.
Kagan and Sotomayor and Clarence Thomas and Justice Roberts, and you have, what's his name?
Exactly.
Collins.
That's the one I forget all the time.
And then you also have RBG.
Right.
And Gorsuch.
But the one
and then
that you
previously
forgot
it was Anthony Kennedy.
Yeah, and the one I always try to say Souter instead of the guy that you just forgot. But he's
I think that was it. That was it.
I think it's somebody else. But the point is,
there's this one gentleman that doesn't normally have a limelight. You have everybody else, and then you have this one gentleman. I don't remember.
Little mousy guy.
It might be Souter.
He looks kind of like Kennedy. He looks a little bit like Kennedy.
And then talk about Kavanaugh's record. What did he vote on? What has he done? What is Sotomayor? What is her dissensions? We don't know that much about the Supreme Court. We don't. I don't. So before we talk about it, let's know what this guy did.
God forbid we should educate ourselves.
But and God forbid that we educate ourselves.
Okay. Here we go.
Before the vote.
Dave, do you mind? I have the list of it, actually.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so Chief Justice is John Roberts.
Yep.
He was nominated by George W.
Right.
Yeah.
Clarence Thomas under H.W.
Oh, I love that one.
RBG under Bill Clinton.
Right.
That was his name. Stephen Breyer under Bill Clinton.
Yep.
Breyer.
Who was Breyer under?
Breyer?
Yeah.
Clinton.
Okay.
You have Samuel Alito from, he was under Bush.
Bush, right? Yeah.
Yep.
Sotomayor, Obama. Kagan, Obama. Gorsuch, Trump, and now Kavanaugh.
Right.
And I believe Kennedy was under Reagan?
I believe so, yeah.
He might have been, yeah. I think you're right.
But what's interesting...
And so Gorsuch came up earlier than Trump, though, right?
What? Gorsuch was his first year.
Right?
Yeah.
It was his first year.
Right.
He replaced Scalia after his death.
Right. Okay. I now I remember. I got him.
One thing that's actually really interesting when you look at the votes is how tight some of them are. Okay, so going from the Roberts all the way down. So Roberts, he was confirmed at 78-22.
Okay.
That's pretty good.
Yeah.
Clarence Thomas, who had the Anita Hillish incident, that was 52-48.
Right.
RBG, ready? Hold on to this one. 96-3.
Right.
Whoa.
Yep.
Was it? You said Breyer?
Breyer, yeah.
Breyer, he was 87-9. Another Democrat.
I don't even remember him.
Okay, so.
Yeah,
so
he's still in, and that's the guy I always forget.
He's like the wild card guy, right?
Yeah.
Alito.
Okay, so Samuel Alito, 58-42. That's close.
Right.
Sotomayor, 68-31.
Right.
Kagan, 63-37. Neil Gorsuch, 54-45. And Kavanaugh, 50-48. Notice a trend.
I'm curious to know Sandra Day O'Connor and the vote on her.
Ooh, I can actually look that up. Give me a sec.
Sandra Day O'Connor.
Okay, let's see. Sandra Day O'Connor. Unanimous.
Reagan, right?
Sandra Day O'Connor was unanimous.
Because
99-0.
We have to get a female on the court.
We have two. We have three females.
No, but that was
back then we did.
Oh yeah. Anthony Kennedy was 97-0. Let's see. I'm looking for Scalia. I'm sorry. I'm in still living. There are actually 4 justices that are still living that are no longer on the bar, no longer on the bench.
John Paul Roberts.
John Paul Roberts, yeah.
Yeah.
No, John Paul Stevens.
Stevens, I'm sorry.
He was under Ford, 98-0.
Right.
And then there's David Souter.
Right.
He was 90-9.
So what was Scalia?
Scalia. I'm looking for him.
Okay.
So those were people that were still living.
Okay.
But there's a pattern here. It's becoming way more partisan than it used to be.
And you can see that just by the character assassination. I mean, I was listening to Mitch McConnell, and he was saying how a lot of things that happened this time around was very similar to what happened to Bork when they were trying to get him into Supreme Court.
I knew there were issues that I had with Bork's judicial record at the time. I honestly can't remember.
I don't either, but I didn't want Bork. I can tell.
I didn't want Bork either. But Mitch
I don't have
McConnell,
it right in front of me.
Mitch McConnell, with all due respect, is a hypocrite because
Here we go. Got it. I found Scalia.
Okay.
98-0.
Wow.
Under where's he under? Reagan.
That's what I thought.
So it's becoming much more partisan, especially when it comes to when the Republican is president.
Who was Stephen?
Was that Stephen Breyer?
No, Stephen.
His number?
John Paul or Stevens.
He replaced Blackmun.
Blackman. Okay. But
Roberts replaced Relinquist.
Right.
Alex, I have to disagree. And look, Obama was a tool. I think we can agree.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I agree.
However, if you're going to make the statement that Supreme Court justice nominations are more partisan under a Republican president, there's nothing more partisan than not even bringing a justice to a vote.
Well, I mean that in the factor of what the actual vote number was. I don't mean that as in what their actual basis of things are. I'm just saying that the actual vote number.
Well, for McConnell is a hypocrite because he wouldn't even he wouldn't even bring Garland to a vote. And now whether or not I would have approved of Garland is beside the point. It's just bring the man to a vote, for Christ's sake. It's
very interesting because I actually mentioned Merrick Garland within these conversations.
Yeah.
And they were saying how Garland and Kavanaugh actually voted very similarly.
Yep. I read the articles. Yep.
Yeah.
And I think they were actually on the same appeals court.
Yeah, and I didn't like Merrick Garland, so I thought, in my opinion, that was bullshit on Obama's part. So, I'm sorry, but I don't know. That was one of those few things where no matter what you talk about, when you talk about the Supreme Court, you bring up Kavanaugh, everyone's going to just bring up, oh, what about Merrick Garland? What about this? I'm like, that time happened. I understand. We're not talking about him, though.
Well, I'm not talking
I'm saying that I question whether or not anybody should be appointed by anybody in this country anymore. In my opinion, a lifetime appointment is bullshit. Sorry, but you know what? Do we get that? Do we get that when we get a job? We don't. We don't get that when we get a job. We don't get lifetime appointments. That job security. I think it should be.
If you're in some governmental position, you're only pretty safe.
Well, Deb, would you go with a 20-year appointment?
I'd go with anything but a lifetime appointment. I'm open to discussion.
I would say
I would go 20 years. That's what I would do because you at least go through two presidents that way.
For continuity, I get it.
Let's see. How about this? 20 years or 3 presidencies?
Whichever is earlier.
Whichever is sooner.
I could see that.
Yeah.
Because
let's just use Kavanaugh as an example, okay? So Kavanaugh, let's use that 20 years. So 20 years from here, let's see, it's 2018, so 2038. Trump is, if he gets reelected, he will leave in 2024, Okay,
Right.
let's just say
right.
theoretically he'll get second term 2048. Okay, just to make it even for everything.
Yep.
So 20 years is if we have one term, it would be 5 one-term presidencies, or it would be two and a half. It would be 2.5.
I'm not in favor of changing the 2-term limit on presidency. So I say we go 3 terms max. I'm good with that.
Well, I mean, the last time was a Dem too.
Right? Yeah, I'm good.
It was the only time. It was the first and only time. Everyone else was basically 2 terms.
So,
my issue with messing around with a lifetime appointment is we have to make sure that this kind of thing is on a rotating basis, so you don't give one president 7 appointments. Or you don't overload the bench with one president, whether it be a Democrat or
so maybe I don't know. I get you, but there's got to be some kind of. I just don't think anybody gets a lifetime appointment. I just don't.
And I question the system when it comes to the Supreme Court at this point.
Here's my position. Okay, all of this is just conjecture right now because I believe the system has to go.
Yes.
And once that's gone, we need to rebuild it from the ground up, and then we should talk about that. I think that's the key thing, whether anyone should ever be able to appoint. Okay, that's kingly. That's to me is not. This country has to move on the whims of the people for better or for worse. But we know when it relies on politicians, it's always for the worse. I don't give a shit what side you're on. Okay? From the day these people get elected, all they care about is getting reelected. You see it in their decisions. You can hear it in what they say. Mm-hmm. And this is not the role that they should be playing.
And in the WikiLeaks documents that I've seen, in these election strategies that candidates use, in the way that people are vetting Supreme Court justices, they use topics to either push people through or push people out.
Exactly.
Not to select them or to vet them through a process.
Right, on their merits.
On their merits.
Have you guys heard about the ethics violations that have been filed recently?
On who? Regarding what?
Well, in regards to the actual procedure that was done throughout this period, during this confirmation period.
I haven't.
There was, I think, Maxine Waters got 3 ethics violations.
Oh, yeah, I heard about that.
Oh, yeah. She's got ethics violations before. I'd like to see something happen with that shit.
It's like her getting a traffic ticket. Who cares? It's like, what's going to happen with it?
I think there was also something on...
Alex, wasn't that like from several years ago, though?
No, it was actually from most recently. They charged her with ethics violations for willingly convening a mob.
Okay, I'm gonna look that up because
remember when she was in I think it was when she was in California, and she's like, if you see somebody in a hospital, in a restaurant, in a gas station, you confront them, you go after them.
Yes.
She should be cited for that. Yeah.
Yeah,
the thing was that when she was saying,
I don't deny that she should be cited for that, but my God, Maxine Waters has been cited for worse than that.
Of course.
She's an ethics violation queen. It disgusts me that
I honestly, I would not be. I would love it if she got kicked off of all the different things she's done.
There's a shitload of people that need to be. You know what? I'm of the opinion that this whole cesspool is filthy. And honestly, there is not one person that hasn't committed some kind of ethics violation in this government. I don't care who you are. And the bottom line is that it either needs to stop now or we shut up. We either need to demand it stops or we shut it up. Because
I like to joke about how I have the 3 worst representatives or people representing me.
Yeah.
I have Bob Menendez, who he's been actually convicted.
I got you beat, brother, but go ahead.
I have Cory Booker.
He's a piece of shit. He needs to go.
Yeah.
And I also have Bonnie Watson Coleman.
Who the hell is she?
She is what?
I've missed her. I haven't heard.
She's the Russian narrative.
Oh, I hate it.
Big time.
And you know what? See, a lot of these people fly under the damn radar.
Yeah.
Honestly.
Well, the thing is that she was actually she's actually flying under the radar, but she actually was caught. Like they were doing a video of you know how they do live feeds of the House and the Senate?
Yeah.
One of the photos actually panned down for a second because it was on the ceiling, so they were panning down to the gallery. And they actually panned to her phone, which actually had emails or something like that.
Look,
I don't know exactly what was on the content, but it was very interesting because of all the different people that were with her. I think she was with several other. I think she was with like Waters and others.
Yeah,
I'm not very clear.
Jersey,
a lot of these.
I'd have to say New York will give you a run for your money.
Oh, you got Schumer. Oh,
yeah, Schumer and Blondie. What's her name? I forgot her name. I tried to block
Gillibrand. Gillibrand.
I got Gillibrand and I got Pete King. So.
Okay. I will level with you on that. I think they're equally bad, actually, if you think about it.
Really bad. Yeah.
But some of them are more.
I got in Boston. I got
You got Warren.
I got Markey, and I got what's her name there. I don't even Elizabeth Warren. I don't pay attention to any
Pocahontas.
Pocahontas. Liawatha. That's her nickname.
Well, okay.
And then,
I don't know.
And then Booker.
I don't know.
Booker's nickname is Spartacus nowadays.
I know. I remember that. I got that.
I don't know how long we're going to go, but I just.
Let me just say real quick that we have unlimited time today.
Yeah. I have a question for everybody though. The Kavanaugh thing, and by the way, I don't think that this whole thing is over yet because now that we have emails, I have to, if they are revealed after the fact, I want to know if there's a reason why they were withheld, and I want to prevent that from happening with future Supreme Court justices. I don't give a shit if it's a Democrat or a Republican president. I want that to be prevented from happening. So, what do you think we can learn from this? Because we sure as shit didn't learn anything from Clarence Thomas because it happened again with Kavanaugh. This should be a job interview. And I'm sorry, Alex, if this guy was behind my desk and he acted the way that and I understand maybe they're unfounded allegations, but you're running for the Supreme Court. If he acted the way that he did on camera, I would have to consider judicial temperament and think about sincerely think about it.
So can I just say one thing? I just recently went on job interviews. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So let me just say this, because when you think about things that you go through as an average human being to get a fucking $12 an hour job,
right?
I had to go through a credit check, a background check. Okay, when it got to the point where I was applying to Costco and I had to go through a drug test to fold women's clothes in a fucking department, I said to myself, you know what? That's not fucking happening.
Urine sample, blood sample.
Right, urine sample. Go to Newton, pee in a cup. You know what? Have a good day. And here's what happened. I went through it just because I knew I would get rejected. Okay, so what happens? I get a phone call from the lab, right, who does my test, and they say to me, well, I said, well, I have a medical marijuana license in Massachusetts since April of this year. It's totally legal recreationally and medically. He goes to me, well, before you went for the test, when did you last use marijuana? And I said, why would I ever tell you this? You're already rejecting my application. Go away. You know what? I'm not telling you jack spot, brother. So the bottom line is we go through all this bullshit for $12 an hour, and we get all worried about, oh, poor Kavanaugh, his reputation's going to be ruined. Give me a fucking break. I'm done.
The same thing happened with Clarence Thomas. The response is, how how dare you ask me these questions?
Exactly.
That is what. Listen.
There's no presumption in the.
Well, I mean, what about the fact that we could have dealt with this things 82 days before?
Yeah.
This was first brought up in July. Why are we dealing with that in September?
Oh, I agree with the timing. The timing was.
I understand. We could look over this stuff.
Yeah, I agree the timing sucked, but 84 days before would have given him plenty of time to cover all this bullshit up.
That's what happened. Feinstein literally said that she had the documents in July. She has stated that many times.
But the issue is that she released it without permission.
Right.
Yeah, exactly.
And Ford specifically said, don't release it until you speak with me. And she released it because she didn't really care about Ford. She cared about drumming up attention for her party, trying
Feinstein?
to give them to have a victim.
Yeah, she sucks. Yeah, she needs to go. And I've said that from day one. You know what? This is my point. My point is there's too much in this nation that is out of the people's hands. And I'm not saying I have the answer for all of this, but here is what I'm saying. The longer we sit here and just discuss this without doing something about it, I don't care what side of the aisle you're on, the longer and the bloodier this gets. This is not resolving itself within the system. The system will not be cleaning itself up. Dianne Feinstein has been in office too long, just like all of these people. Mitch McConnell's been in too long. They've all been in too long. And this is what I'm saying. It needs to be purged. And the only people who are going to purge this system are the people, not the politicians.
And it's not going to be the people that are getting paid to do it, because the people that are getting paid to do it, they have a mission.
No, the people who are being paid to do it are establishment freaking tools. The people who are being paid to do it are establishment tools. But if you shut them down, then
I'm not advocating to shut them down. I'm advocating for people to know the difference between somebody that's getting paid and somebody that's working their ass off.
Right. I'm not waiting for a savior. I can't wait for a savior. They don't exist. I'm not trusting the plan. I'm not believing the bullshit. I'm not listening to Bernie Sanders. I'm not listening to any politician anymore. It is either we stand up or we shut the fuck up. It's one way or the other. We're at that point now. It's not Democrat versus Republican. It's us versus all of them. They are complicit. If you don't think they sit and talk to each other in between all of this bullshit, you are sadly mistaken. Okay,
no, they are,
I'm serious.
Oh, they so manipulated that. Oh, you say a no, you do a no vote, and I'll do a no vote. Let's shake hands and all that bull crap. So. Yeah, I completely agree with you. And by the way, every single congressman, every single senator is complicit in this whole attitude of how dare you ask me those questions. That whole thing was theater. It's like wrestling. When someone comes up with genuine, true information, they get crucified.
Right.
They get absolutely crucified. And again, the Unity for J event is going on right now. I have to mention that. Go on, watch the Unity for J event if you're interested in whistleblowing and the Julian Assange movement. But if Assange gets extradited, watch these hypocrites on both sides of the aisle crucify this guy on unfounded evidence. And you didn't do it on unfounded evidence with Kavanaugh. So, I don't think that is a false equivalency at all whatsoever. People look at stuff the way that they want to look at stuff to get the outcome that they want in the system, and that is why the system is broken.
That is why the system will never be fixed from within. Not possible.
Yeah, that's why when people ask me, they're like, oh, well, what do you, if you don't support any candidate, even Tim Canova, they get so angry at me that I won't support Tim Canova. And I was like,
Canova's full of shit.
Yeah, he's full of shit. And, I can say that there is value in court documents proving DNC fraud, and he is doing that. However, he's doing that because he's a candidate, and he's doing that because he wants to win. He's doing that for himself. He's not doing that to expose the DNC. I actually spoke with him through messages once, and told him my stance, told him why I don't support him, told him why I don't trust him. I basically told him off, and because I'm not afraid to do that. And my goal is to show as much opposition as I can to the DNC candidates. At the time, he was a DNC candidate, and I feel like we have to draw a hard line in the sand, because no one else is going to do it. No one else is going to have the balls to say, I will not legitimize these elections anymore. I will not be a part of this. I will not give credit where credit is not due, And so Tim Canova can sue Debbie Wasserman Schultz all he wants. I don't trust him. I'm not going to vote for him. I'm not going to legitimize these elections, because we cannot save ourselves by voting. So if we say, oh, I'm going to vote for Tim because there is hope, there is not hope with voting. I'm done with my rant.
The hope thing, see that whole hopey thing? That whole hopey changey thing? That whole hope thing is a detriment to what needs to be done. We sit here and we wait and we wait and we wait and we wait and we say, trust the plan, do this. Bernie Sanders has a long game plan. Nobody's got a long game plan. Nobody out there has any impetus to save us. There's no impetus. They don't even consider us until we wield some kind of power. We have no bargaining chips whatsoever. As Chris had just said, and I'm sorry, but I saw him in Cambridge a week ago. The mountain might seem insurmountable unless we start chipping away. We are doomed, and I am serious. At the end of the day, this empire will fall. Yeah. Who do you want to take over? That is the question. It is either us or it is them. I know for one person, I personally think if it's them, it gets worse from here.
It's funny.
I have to say that he wasn't even in my lifetime, but there's one person that I can think of that had a long game plan in terms of trying to uproot the system, and he was assassinated for it, and that was John F. Kennedy.
Absolutely.
To try
to. Funny. It's actually kind of funny you mentioned that, because in the Oval Office every day, there's a prayer that is said that talks about how they think it's a prayer to JFK and our beloved president who has been assassinated and was trying to do all these. I forgot exactly what the prayer was, but it's actually done in the Oval Office every day. And he actually, if you're in the Oval Office, guess what president is actually in the front? When you're sitting in the Oval Office desk and you're facing front. Guess what president is actually picture is right there?
Richard Nixon.
Nope. Andrew Jackson.
Okay, well, yeah.
You know why?
That's about as bad.
Listen to this. Listen to this real quick.
What is, folks? Yeah, I'm agree with that. I don't pray, and I don't believe in any of that bullshit, and I don't believe that anybody in the Oval Office gives a good goddamn about praying. I'm sorry, folks, but you know what? What it comes down to is power and money. And the people either are going to stand up because the power and money shit doesn't work on our behalf, or we're either going to lay down. We got a choice here. This has never been any different. People paint Franklin Delano Roosevelt as, the man who saved us. Oh, please, spare me the freaking agony. You know what the man did? The man was freaking terrified that we would end capitalism as he knew it. It's in his letters.
What do you mean? He did much worse than that. You know,
He's
one of
full
the
shit.
one of
And
his
he knew
things.
that Pearl Harbor was going to happen, and this is all a game. And so
Well,
was 9/11 and
what-
every other damn thing. I'm done.
What did he do with gold?
Yeah, I get it. I'm not saying Woodrow Wilson sucked a lot of whatever it is too, but the bottom
Well,
line.
that's the reason. That's the reason I was bringing up Andrew Jackson, because what did Andrew Jackson do?
But we need to. It needs to be us. Is what I'm saying.
I understand that, and I understand that completely. I'm just noting the path.
Yeah, but it is us.
What?
It is us because Alex is coming for the DNC fraud protest.
I
And
agree, but you know what? There's a lot of people out there who still are waiting, and I don't know what they're waiting for.
So what I'm trying to get to about Andrew Jackson is Andrew Jackson actually brought down the second American bank. There was a first one that failed. They never renewed the charter, and then when Andrew Jackson was president, they had the second Bank of America, and that failed after President Jackson, with what he did, actually shut down the second bank. And then, Woodrow Wilson brought in the third.
Yeah, Woodrow Wilson was.
He was a pawn of the robber barons.
Yeah, he certainly was.
And I don't think we nearly understand the power that these people have until now, which it's really funny because nowadays they're in a tizzy at this point. Why are they doing all these things now that they used to not do? Like, when was the last time you actually saw a full-blown, heartstring moment before now, really? I mean, I can understand there are certain major moments, like LGBT rights and stuff like that. But, I mean, I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about, everyday things.
Right.
When it came to it, literally, I don't think I can think of a time before that now. And that's mainly because a lot of these assets that they have are drying up. One thing that is really helping to remove a lot of these things is actually the ending of Dodd-Frank, actually. Because what Dodd-Frank did was that basically big corporations were protected.
What are you doing, Dave? What the hell is he doing?
He's a donkey.
Oh, it's not you. Oh, I'm sorry.
Oh, it's Sarah.
Oh, holy shit. So what are you doing?
That scared me for a second.
I got me too.
You guys caught me monologuing.
Alex, I might see that in my dreams tonight. That would be totally scary to me.
really hot.
Well, it's 'tis the season. It is around Halloween, so.
You know what? So here's the deal. I wish my video was working right now because I have a freaking sheep head. Okay, can I just tell you that?
I wish I could. I wish I'd be able to do videos too, but my internet sucks right now.
I've been drinking.
I had a pirate's hat, so.
I got a bottle. I can just put it in my head. I don't know. Anyways,
Alex, should we use this for our protest?
Here, I got a raccoon shirt.
You can, but I won't.
There you go.
Oh, there you go. Okay, there you go. So I have a sheep head. I'm getting this fixed before the end of this. I'm buying a camera on Monday. I'm good. Something's gonna give.
But yeah,
but you know what's funny is that I believe that we all want the system to end, but we all have different ways in how that would be done.
I agree.
Because we didn't get to this point right now unless we allowed it to happen in the first place.
Exactly.
And there's so many connections with the last three administrations, and I'm not counting this one because it's still going on. But the last three full administrations had a lot of things connected to one another. Actually, the last four.
Actually, you could go back way farther than that, but.
True, you can go back to Johnson technically.
Carter with FISA, and you could go back really,
Be right back.
Do you guys remember what was H.W. Bush's favorite word to say?
No more taxes.
Yeah, that was one of them. He also said a lot about New World Order.
Yeah.
You know, we are entering a brand new order, world order.
New World Order. New World Order.
You know, and that's that has to do a lot with what happened in our previous administration, right? And and if you look at it, you know the alert system that went off. I think it was the 3rd.
Yeah, right.
You know who actually put that? That was actually Obama that put that in place.
Yeah,
an executive order.
I wouldn't be surprised at that, honestly, because to be perfectly honest with you, you know, that whole assassination thing that went on during Obama, it was Bush that put that in place.
Yeah.
But it was Obama that actually took advantage of it. So, you know, I know how this I know how, and that's what I'm saying. It transitions from administration to administration to administration by design. That's
So,
do they normally support each other, or are they normally against each other?
I think they're against each other for show now. That's what I think.
So Alex, just to end the show on a conspiratorial note.
Oh boy, I love that.
No. As far as the alert system goes, I think that the alert system was put in place potentially to see who has tracking and who has crap in their phone. Because I never got the thing.
Was your phone on?
Well, yeah, that was part of it. I turned my damn phone off.
I should have.
It's because most phones after, I think it was 2011, had something called an A311 chip.
Right.
And actually, A311 chips are actually exclusively produced in China.
Damn those Chinese.
Now, in China, they like to basically control you every shape and form. Why else do you think all these major companies actually go to China? It's because of this almost 100% surveillance. So and that's why they're like, you know how everyone's like, we shouldn't really talk bad about China. Of course we talk bad about them for all their human rights abuse. It's horrific. Now, I mean, North Korea also has horrific human rights abuse, but just like anything else, it looks like they're slowly improving. Not a lot, but I mean, come on, think about it. It's not going to be like the best thing in the world at this point, but it's going to eventually get progressively better.
Right.
You know, it's not. You know, you might not, instead of having 5 beheadings or 5 killed people, you could probably have 2 instead. And I mean, I'm also not a big fan of loss of life, but you know, incremental baby steps in these cases.
Jesus Christ. Also, China's a great scapegoat, because when I had my data hacked, all the postal employees had their data hacked.
Yeah.
Their social security numbers, their medical records, everything. China was blamed, and that was Obama. And this is
I had things happen at home because my dad's a postal worker.
Right. So I got to go.
I remember stuff like that happening.
Speaking of the United States Postal Service, I got to make my nightly appearance. So I have to go. But
thank you, Dave, for joining us.
Hey, thanks for having me, and thanks. And Deb, Alex, don't kill each other just yet.
Oh, don't worry.
Hey, you know,
don't worry.
I consider it promising that they haven't done it yet, and they've been friends for a little while
No,
now.
we're good. We're good.
I think at the end of the day, we run into a moot point.
Exactly.
I think at the end of the day, you guys have a lot of things that are common ground that we can work around.
I think we argue about agreeing.
Well,
we could be. That could be a good point.
Here's what
I think we argue about agreeing.
I mean, Deb is typically I would say to the left, at least to some degree, and Alex is to the right. When you have the left and right agree, that to me that's a win. And on the Unity for Jay, you have Graham Elwood on the left and Cassandra Fairbanks on the far right, or on the right, and they are agreeing 90% of the time. I would say that 85% of the time, we all are pretty much.
Isn't Tim Black and Jack Posobiec also on it?
I don't know who's on this particular one. Tim Black is not on this time, from what I've seen on the schedule.
Because I do know I have seen him on the
he has
website.
Been on before, yeah. He has been on before.
Oh, I wonder if Tim Black's gonna show up on the schedule and then not show up.
Because
he's known to do that.
I hope not. Yeah, it's possible, but I didn't see him on the schedule this time.
Only reason I'm
early.
bringing that up is because I've had a lot of issues. A lot of people I know have issues with Posobiec because he was actually a what was it called? A counterintelligence agent for the Navy.
Who? Who was that?
Jack Posobiec.
Okay.
He was I think he was a warrant officer for counterintelligence.
Right.
So that's why I've always had issues with him reporting, because I'm not sure if he's actually reporting or he's doing some form of disinfo.
Okay, summation.
Anyway.
Bye-bye.
Summation, Kavanaugh. The media has made it all about sexual assault when really, I think, both sides of the aisle, they're trying to hide the fact that he has a lot of negative points that they could be making, but they're making it all against red against blue. And I think they're just trying to rev people up to vote. I think can we get in a consensus of that?
Democrats got their Merrick Garland in, basically. Exactly. They got their Merrick Garland in, and they were able to fuel some outrage. Some false outrage.
With a lot of people like Alyssa Milano, that are pushing Russiagate. They're pushing different, things that to us are, obvious, but for other people, they're going along with it, and I don't know what we're going to do about that, but
we're just going to keep informed and try to keep people informed and red flag everything, whether it be from the right or the left. I don't care.
It's funny is that I support him, but the moment I see that things are off, I'm going to jump like it's a bad habit.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have them from different perspectives, and that's okay. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, we're working towards the same goal, and I can work with that.
Well, yeah, because, basically, he's confirmed it, so now it becomes, holding him accountable. That's really where we are. So
exactly, that's what, and that's what the job of the legislator and the
enough of the nonsense. That's what we have to deal with.
Of course.
This was a really good video. Thank you guys for joining me. We'll wrap it up, and I'll talk to you guys. For everybody watching, if you want to communicate with me, Deb, David, and Alex, and tons of other people, you can join us on Discord. I'll put the link below. Join us. It's kind of like a gamer chat. It was originally a gamer's chat, and we use it to share content, especially when you're being censored a lot. I know a lot of anti-establishment voices are being censored, whether it's on Twitter or Facebook or whatever. Join us on Discord, and you can share information freely. And I think that'll help a lot of the, miscommunication between people.
If I may, one thing I wanted to let you guys say is, in regards to contemptible thoughts, I'm planning on doing one while I'm at the DNC fraud protest in Washington.
Okay. That's fine. We will need you to, I don't know how many people's coming, so we'll need you and me to record it. We'll both have to take turns,
That's fine.
We'll get some footage for Contemptible Thoughts, some for Meme News, and some for DNC Fraud, and we'll figure it out.
Also, guys, just so you know, the weekend of October 20th is the Women's March on the Pentagon.
That's the day after our protest. Yeah, I know.
So I'm going to be, the actual march, I believe, is Sunday the 21st. The 20th is going to be civil disobedience training. I'm going to try to film as much of that as I can.
Film that and send it to us, or send me the link.
Yeah, and I'm a speaker at that, so I feel very strongly about that.
Cool, yeah. I put that on the Meme News website. The event link in your Michelle Obama unwelcoming.
Oh yeah,
events on there too.
Wait for that. I'm waiting for that one.
Deb?
Yeah.
from one human being to another, and one colleague from one to another, I wish you best luck and safety over there, because it's been pretty hairy in the DC area.
Yeah, and you know what? Just let me say this. Cindy Sheehan has been really open with the Pentagon in telling them, you know, we're going to be on the premises on the 21st, and they've been saying some pretty scary stuff to her, I think. But I think it may be just to discourage people, and we're just going to persevere and go out there. We're not looking for any trouble. We just want to march and be heard, and we'll see what happens.
All right. Well, I got to go, guys. I'll talk to you guys later.
Thanks, Alex. I'll talk to you later.
All right. Take care. Bye, everybody.